Have you ever felt lost, like you're walking, but not really moving anywhere? The truth is, most of us drift through life waiting for direction, hoping that clarity will one day arrive. But purpose isn't something you find. It's something you walk into, one deliberate step at a time. The Stoics taught that true confidence comes not from knowing the path ahead, but from choosing to walk it with intention. Every action, no matter how small, becomes sacred when it aligns with who you wish to become. You don't need the map, you need the courage to move. Because when you walk with purpose, every step carries meaning, and every moment draws you closer to the person you're meant to be. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Take the next step, and make it count. There was a time I thought movement meant progress. I woke up each day, rushing from one task to another, checking boxes, chasing opportunities, always surrounded by noise, conversations, deadlines, the endless hum of ambition. The city never slept, and neither did I. Everyone seemed to be running somewhere, so I ran too. But I never stopped to ask where. It hit me one morning on the train. Faces all around me, tired, scrolling, pretending to be alive. 1,000 eyes staring into glowing screens, but no one looking up. The train moved fast, but no one really seemed to be going anywhere. In that moment, I felt a strange stillness, a quiet voice whispering beneath the noise. What are you rushing toward? For years, I thought the answer was more success, more money, more recognition. But the more I gained, the less I felt. Every achievement only made me hungrier for the next one. It was like drinking salt water, the thirst never ended. I was moving constantly, yet I was lost. The Stoics had a word for this kind of chaos: distraction disguised as purpose. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Men seek retreats for themselves, in the country, by the sea, in the mountains. But it is in your power to retreat into yourself at any hour you wish." I had been searching for direction in the world outside me, when the real compass had been silent inside me all along. I began to notice the patterns: people chasing applause rather than meaning, mistaking motion for growth, speed for progress. We scroll through other people's journeys and feel late to our own. But the truth is, you can run your entire life and still never move forward. Because direction, not speed, defines the journey. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the city lights flickering on the walls like restless thoughts. I realized I had been walking through life like a man trapped in fog, moving fast, but without a map. I didn't need more steps. I needed purpose. I didn't need to go faster. I needed to go truer. The Stoics believed that clarity precedes motion. You cannot walk with peace if you don't know your path. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." It sounds simple, but in a world addicted to noise, simplicity is the hardest thing to find. That's when I began to slow down. Not because I was tired, but because I was ready to listen to the rhythm beneath the rush, to the quiet part of me that had been drowned out by the world's expectations. I started asking different questions. Not what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to become? There's a kind of peace that comes when you stop running from silence. It's uncomfortable at first, like standing still after years of sprinting. But then something changes. You begin to feel the ground beneath you again. You start to see the path that was always there, waiting. Walking with purpose doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means deciding to take the next step with intention, even if you don't know what lies beyond the fog. The destination no longer matters as much as the direction. Because when you walk with clarity, every step becomes progress, not toward a finish line, but toward becoming whole. If you're tired of the noise, of the pressure to keep up, of the illusion that you're falling behind, this is your reminder. You're not late. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to start walking with purpose. So take a breath, slow down. Let go of the race. The world doesn't need another person running faster. It needs someone brave enough to walk with intention. And if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to take that quiet, deliberate step toward becoming who you were meant to be, join this community. Subscribe, and let's walk this path together, one purposeful step at a time. I used to believe that direction would reveal itself someday, that if I worked hard enough, stayed busy enough, the path would appear. But it never did. The busier I became, the more lost I felt. It was as if I were sailing without a compass, surrounded by the vastness of life's ocean, moving endlessly but never arriving anywhere. Then, one evening, I came across a single line from Seneca that changed everything. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Those words struck me like thunder. I realized that all my effort, all my striving, meant nothing if I didn't know why I was doing it. I had been measuring progress by speed, not by direction. The Stoics believed that purpose precedes peace. You cannot live well until you know what well means to you. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase external success. He sought clarity, a life anchored in virtue, guided by reason, moved by intention. And that's when I began to see, purpose is not a map. It's a compass. A map promises certainty. It shows you every turn, every destination. A compass offers only direction. It tells you where your true north lies, but it demands courage to move forward without guarantees. Life doesn't hand you maps. It hands you a compass and tests your resolve to use it. The more I studied Stoicism, the clearer it became. Purpose isn't discovered, it's chosen. It's a decision you make daily. To walk toward what matters. To align your actions with your values, even when no one notices. To do what's right, not what's easy. That's the essence of the Stoic compass, inner direction that no storm can steal. I started asking myself new questions. What kind of person do I want to become? What am I willing to endure to become that person? These questions became my true north. They didn't make the path easier, but they made it meaningful. I no longer needed to see every step ahead. I just needed to know I was facing the right way. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. There's a simple but profound power in those words. Decide, then act. Don't wait for clarity to appear out of thin air. Create it through consistent action. The Stoic way isn't about waiting for fate to show the path. It's about walking forward even when the fog hasn't lifted. I began to understand that purpose doesn't always feel heroic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's simply choosing to do one thing with excellence instead of 10 things with distraction. It's saying no to noise so you can say yes to meaning. It's being okay with moving slowly if you know every step is aligned with your principles. Every morning now, I take a moment of silence before the world wakes up. I ask myself, where is my compass pointing today? Sometimes the answer is simple, to be kind, to work with integrity, to speak less and listen more. Other times, it's harder, to confront a fear, to let go of pride, to accept uncertainty. But whatever the answer, I move in that direction. When you live this way, something profound happens. The anxiety of uncertainty begins to fade. The rush to prove yourself to others quiets. You no longer need validation from the crowd because you know where you're going. Even when the path is unclear, your compass keeps you steady. Purpose doesn't make life easy. It makes it anchored. It's the difference between drifting and navigating. Between being blown by every wind and choosing which way to sail. The Stoic compass doesn't promise calm seas, but it ensures that no matter how rough the waters, you'll never lose your way. So if you feel lost right now, if life feels like endless movement without direction, stop. Take a breath. Don't look for a map. Look for your compass. The one inside you. Because once you find it, you won't need to chase every opportunity or every trend. You'll move with quiet confidence, one deliberate step at a time, knowing that even the smallest act done with purpose can change the entire course of your journey. There was a day I'll never forget, the day I finally stopped running. Not because I found the finish line, but because I realized there wasn't one. It was late autumn. The air carried that quiet chill that makes you think about your life more deeply than you'd like. I was walking home from work, exhausted, scrolling through my phone, comparing my progress to everyone else's, their promotions, their vacations, their perfect smiles. And then I caught my reflection in a dark shop window. I didn't see ambition. I saw confusion. I saw a man sprinting in circles, desperate to look like he knew where he was going. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment with a notebook in front of me. No music, no phone, just silence. It was uncomfortable, the kind of silence that feels like it's staring back at you. I wrote one question at the top of the page. Why am I doing all this? The answer didn't come right away. For a long time, I just stared at the page. But eventually, something shifted. I realized I had been chasing approval, not purpose. I wanted to be admired, not fulfilled. My goals weren't my own. They were echoes of the world's expectations. So I began small. I started writing down the things that truly mattered to me: integrity, peace, growth, kindness. I made a list not of what I wanted to achieve, but of who I wanted to become. It felt strange at first, almost naive. But for the first time in years, I felt grounded. Taking the first step wasn't dramatic. There were no fireworks, no grand decisions. It was quiet, almost invisible. I woke up the next morning and chose to live that day with intention. I didn't quit my job or change my life overnight. I simply stopped pretending that busyness was progress. The Stoics often said that virtue is action, not intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." So I started there. I stopped waiting for the perfect plan. I acted imperfectly, but deliberately. Each small act became a kind of practice, choosing patience over irritation, focus over distraction, silence over reaction. I began to notice how my inner compass started to align, how clarity grew not from thinking, but from doing. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And I realized that privilege isn't granted, it's earned, step by step, through choices that reflect who you wish to become. The fog didn't disappear overnight. I still doubted, stumbled, hesitated. But now I was moving, not aimlessly, but with direction. And something inside me began to shift. I stopped measuring my worth by speed or comparison. I started measuring it by consistency and integrity. There's a quiet confidence that grows when you take ownership of your path. You don't need applause. You don't need certainty. You just need to keep walking, one clear step at a time. That night, as I walked home again, I passed the same shop window. This time, my reflection looked different. Not because I had changed the world, but because I had finally begun changing myself. When you finally find a sense of direction, it's tempting to think the hardest part is over. But the truth is, finding direction is only the beginning. The real challenge lies in walking it every single day. Purpose without discipline is like a compass you never use. It points north, yes, but you still have to take the steps. There were mornings when I woke up and didn't feel like moving forward. The motivation was gone, the clarity blurred, and I started to question everything again. It's easy to lose sight of your path when progress moves slowly, when the world rewards speed and noise, not patience and quiet work. That's when I remembered something Epictetus said: "No great thing is created suddenly." He taught that a disciplined life isn't about doing what feels good, it's about doing what's right, even when it feels hard. And that's the part most people miss. Direction gives meaning to your steps, but discipline gives strength to your stride. So I began to treat each day like practice, not performance. Instead of chasing results, I focused on rhythm. One deliberate action after another. Writing when I didn't feel inspired. reflecting when I wanted distraction, saying no to shortcuts that led away from my compass. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's repetition in silence. It's choosing the long road when the short one whispers your name. It's showing up for yourself when no one's watching. And that's what builds character. Marcus Aurelius faced the same tension. As emperor, every day demanded decisions that shaped an empire. Yet in his journals, he wrote about the simplest struggles: waking up, staying kind, remaining calm. He didn't ask for an easier life. He practiced discipline in the life he already had. That's when I realized discipline isn't punishment. It's freedom. The kind that comes from knowing you can trust yourself to follow through, no matter what life throws your way. I started noticing how the smallest routines began to reshape my mind. The morning silence before sunrise became my sanctuary. The act of journaling became a mirror. The resistance I once avoided became my teacher. Each time I acted with discipline, I was training something deeper, not just my habits, but my heart. The Stoics believed that mastery begins in the mind. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality. The battle, always, is within." My distractions weren't the real enemy. My lack of focus was. My failures weren't fatal. My fear of trying again was. Discipline, I learned, isn't about controlling life. It's about controlling your response to it. And slowly something shifted. The chaos quieted. The urgency faded. The need to prove myself began to die. I stopped trying to reach every destination at once and started to honor the step I was in. Each day became a kind of meditation, a lesson in patience, a practice of restraint, a devotion to presence. That's when I discovered that direction isn't just about knowing where to go. It's about choosing to stay on the path when everything around you tries to pull you off it. That's what discipline is. Staying faithful to your compass when it would be easier to drift. The days still challenge me. The distractions still come. But every time I stay the course, I build a quiet strength, the kind that doesn't shout, but endures. When you combine direction with discipline, you stop being a wanderer. You become a traveler, deliberate, unhurried, unstoppable. And that's the kind of person I'm learning to become. Not the fastest, not the loudest, but the one who stays true to his path, no matter how long it takes. There came a time when I realized the journey was no longer about distance. It was about depth. I had spent years moving outward, trying to build a life that looked right. But the further I went, the emptier it felt. Then one quiet evening, I understood. I had been walking in every direction except the one that mattered most, inward. I used to believe that happiness was something I had to reach. A goal, a reward. But the more I read the Stoics, the clearer it became. Peace isn't a destination. It's a discipline. You don't find it by escaping the storm. You find it by standing calmly within it. That's when my practice began to shift. I stopped asking, "Where am I going?" and started asking, "Who am I becoming?" It's a harder question, because it forces you to face yourself. All the noise, all the masks, all the unspoken fears. It asks for honesty, brutal honesty. Every morning, I began journaling not to plan my day, but to study my mind. Marcus Aurelius did the same. His meditations weren't written for an audience, but as reminders to himself. A daily conversation with the soul. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That truth sank in slowly. I realized that everything I'd been chasing, success, recognition, certainty, were externals. None of them could give me peace because none of them were mine to control. But my thoughts, my choices, my reactions, those were. And within that small circle of control lay incredible freedom. The world outside still moved fast. People still raced, still compared, still shouted for more. But I began to move differently, slower, quieter. I learned to appreciate the pauses between things, The moments when nothing seems to be happening. Because that's where the transformation hides. I started walking alone more often, through parks, along empty streets, under quiet skies. It's in those walks that I began to notice how much noise I had been carrying inside. Thoughts that weren't mine. Standards I didn't choose. Expectations that didn't belong to me. Letting them go felt like breathing for the first time. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That became my mantra. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's not being enslaved by what you don't need. The more I simplified, the lighter I felt. I didn't need to prove my worth to the world. I just needed to live it. Now I see life differently. Every challenge, every delay, every failure, they aren't obstacles. They're mirrors. Each one reflecting back the parts of me I still need to refine. The Stoic path isn't a straight line to serenity. It's a spiral leading you deeper into yourself, layer by layer, until you meet who you truly are. Some days I still stumble, I still doubt. But when that happens, I return to silence. I breathe. I remember that all progress, inner or outer, takes time. And in that stillness, I can finally hear what the noise had drowned out for years, the quiet, steady rhythm of my own becoming. If you're listening to this and you feel lost, behind, or unseen, know this: you're not late. You're just learning to walk at your own pace. Every moment of stillness, every small act of patience, every choice to keep going even when no one sees, it's all part of your becoming. You don't have to race anymore. You don't have to prove anything. Just walk, inward, honestly, courageously. Because the path within is the only one that never ends. And when you finally stop running, you'll realize you were never standing still. You were growing roots. So slow down, breathe, be present. The world can wait. Your peace is already here. You just have to return to it.